With that, what I'd like to do is, I've got a couple of high-definition videos that I'd like to show you. The first that I'm going to put in is actually a video of Titanic. It's some high-definition footage that we put together, and then from there, I've got another video after that, which is a behind-the-scenes of our 2005 expedition. And what that's going to show you is what really goes on behind the scenes. When you see a documentary on television, although I just spent all this time explaining it to you, you never see the guys behind the curtain. You never see the guys in the control room. You never see the guys that are out there working at night, putting together the boat, creating a dive boat. You never see the guys at night filling tanks for 7 hours. What you see is a guy like me who comes up there and says something smart, and I get all the glory while they're doing all of the hard work. So the second video that I'm going to show you is a behind the scenes of what it takes to launch a diving film expedition like this. So with that, I am going to, don't mind me as I push all the inappropriate buttons and probably throw my camera, my system into jam mode. Okay, let's see if we can pull this off. By the way, the guys in the counter up there, they're not doing their job. Somehow I'm doing this because they couldn't make it work. They're blaming me. They go, that's American stuff. It doesn't work over here. So now I got to do all the heavy lifting. Let's see if we can get this to work. And if not, I do sock puppets. Okay, spinning up. Maybe not. Maybe I'm going to have to do the sock puppets. There you go. You should have audio.
Понял, идете на подъем. Ждем на связи, Келдыш. Примерно могу сказать, что X600, Y.
This is in high def, but my laptop doesn't play in high def, so that's why we're not getting that really crisp resolution. This is one of the things I found the most upsetting about Titanic, is that here you are on a gravesite. You know, over nearly 1,000 people lost their lives here, and everybody who visits is compelled to leave a plaque. And in a way, it's like pollution. It was very upsetting to me to see that when we went there. That being said, it was an awesome experience for a guy like Shipwrecks to go here. When I first saw these images that you're seeing, I was excited, I was happy, I was elated. But as the hours went on and I traveled from the intact bow section to here, to the stern, where those people that night fought for their lives and froze to death. All of a sudden, the human cost comes into play. You don't necessarily have to see human remains to know, and it sobers you. And when you look back and see how other explorers had to leave their plaques on the wreck, in a way I found it a little insulting. I think that the greatest memorial to Titanic is the wreck itself, not some brass or plastic plaque that someone feels compelled to say, I was here. In a way, it's almost like graffiti. The scale of everything is so hard to determine. As you're looking at those engines are 6 stories tall. 60 feet they rise off the bottom. The purpose of this expedition, as I mentioned to you earlier, was to go out and document these huge pieces that we found far away from the wreck. In the way that if you were looking at an airplane crash, if you found the engine far away from where the plane crashed, you would understand that these pieces symbolize a moment when Titanic started to break up on the surface. And these 2 pieces are roughly from one side, port to starboard of the ship, and almost 20 meters long of the length. These are huge sections of the bottom of the ship. You can still see the red bottom paint on some of them, and they're located nearly a mile away. Well, these pieces indicated a weakness in the structure, and that as Titanic started to flood, she didn't flood, sink, and break up. She flooded, broke up, and sank, which is a remarkably different experience for people that night. And also, when we look at some of the testimony from surviving officers from the lifeboats, they had every reason to believe that Titanic would stay afloat long enough for Carpathia to come and rescue these people. But something changed, something happened that night. And what happened was that Titanic broke up. And those pieces that you saw was the documentary Missing Pieces, and also a book that was written by a guy named Brad Matson. So that was the HD footage, unfortunately not in HD. And now what I'd like to do is show you about a 15-minute video clip that's got some nice imagery of Titanic's sister ship, Britannic, as well as what goes on behind the scenes in making a documentary. What you're going to see, and I'm not going to narrate it because it is narrated by itself, is what goes on from the minute that you land in the airport to the time that you get on location, till the time that you finally splash. And in the case of Britannic, I arrived 3 days before the rest of the team to make sure that everything was okay with the hotels, to liaise with our local experts, to make sure that the dive boat that we were going to build was in the harbor, to make sure that our supplies of gases were there, and to start to build a technical dive center. As I mentioned to you earlier, there was nothing there. There was no dive shop. Everything had to come, and I needed to be there beforehand. This was, again, another opportunity not only for us to be executive producers, meaning it was my money on the line, but also as a dive leader, I was the dive safety officer, and I took that responsibility very seriously. As I had mentioned, there had not been an accident. Obviously, this year was the first time there had been an accident. Up to that point, there had been hundreds of dives made on Britannic. And when you think about talking about open circuit dives and now closed circuit dives being done to 400 feet, and our team intending to go further inside than anyone had ever been, it lent itself to a lot of potential for disaster. And we modeled our dive plan after both military and commercial dive operations, and in that we had a recompression chamber. We also had a helicopter for emergency evacuation if needed, and all of this has to be done beforehand. This is the kind of stuff you just never see. And with that, I will start the tape.